Welcome to this latest edition in our video interview series here at iConnect. My name is Richard Albert, and along with Tom Ginsberg and David Landau, I'm a founding co-editor of this blog. And today I'm excited because we're going to feature Juliano Zaiden Benvindo in our 5-question series. 5 questions that we ask to a scholar of public law today, Juliano. Juliano Zaiden Benvindo is a professor of constitutional law at the University of Brasilia, but he's also, I should add, a dear friend of ICONS. Juliano, you have attended the ICONS conferences around the world, you have published in ICON, and by my count, I might be mistaken, by my count, you published anywhere between 25 and 30 different pieces on iConnect. So thank you so very much for being such a dear friend of ICONS, and it's so good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Richard. My pleasure.
So Juliano, as you know, the purpose of this series is to share with our readers and viewers a bit about you and your work, as well as a bit of your background. So let's just dive in with the first question, which is, what are you researching and writing right now?
Hi, Richard. Thanks for having me here. Well, I'm working right now on a book titled Rule of Law in Brazil. So this is really a very complicated topic to write about this time. Of course, Brazil is not in the best scenario right now. You know, all the news we have about Brazil are not that good. So it's been very challenging to write a book, actually, on such a complex topic. And that's a book for a hard series, which is, I hopefully it's going to be published next year, hopefully. Of course, writing a book during this crisis is not that easy. We have, of course, all our different activities here at home and all this stuff. So, but anyway, it's just that's what I'm working right now on. This book, and most of my time is dedicated to writing this book. Yeah, that's
Rule of law in Brazil. Okay.
Yeah, rule of law in Brazil. You can imagine how crazy that is right now. Just write about it. There's something that is very important for whoever writes on rule of law or any topic, especially which one there is some historic perspective like this one. It's very complicated to write about something that is related to our own time. So the moment where we are right now and write about it. So, you know, this is the difficult things. We need some time to better reflect what's going on right now in Brazil, and somehow this is very difficult to write. So you have to maybe wait a bit longer to see what's going to happen here in Brazil. But anyway, I think this is the kind of a book that I have to rewrite every time before sending the manuscript to the editors, or maybe after having it published, I have to maybe write another book somehow. I don't know. This is crazy. So it's very difficult. But anyway, I think it's important right now to write about this in Brazil. I think it's a challenging topic. But anyway, I'm enjoying writing this book a lot. So it's good.
So tell me, Juliano, how are you actually doing the writing? Do you have a routine that you follow every day? Do you just write whenever you find the time? How do you actually go about the writing of this book?
You know, Richard, usually in normal times, I'm quite methodic. So I have like this, I wake up quite early in the morning, I do some exercise and jogging, for example, and I play maybe 40 minutes piano. This is actually the routine. And I try to make this as something necessary for my actually for having this willpower to start writing. This is something for me really important. So I do this quite from Monday to Fridays. I try not to work on weekends because of course it is family time. I think I have to just relax a bit because of course academic work is really, you know, tiring. In the end, you are just exhausted. And I try not to work that much, especially when I have to write something more creative. Most of my time, of course, especially in the mornings, this is the best moment for me to write anything. I dedicate maybe 3 or 4 hours to writing. And if I have to do something else in the afternoon, it's just more administrative issues like responding to emails and and things we as professors have to do quite often. So this is my routine. But what is important, I have to do some exercise. This is crazy, aerobic thing. Just maybe like you, Richard. I know you're also a jogging man, and play music, and I have to play my piano. This is it's how I start, and I work with music all the time. And so I have these headphones, and this is how I work. And it works quite well. And I work mostly from home. Whenever I have classes at school, I have my office there. This is where I work. But when I don't have any classes, I have here my office. And because I have all this structure here to make this happen, this is where, where my work start to be actually come to life.
So you wake up and you exercise the body, then you exercise the soul with some music, and then you work the brain and the head as you're typing and writing.
Yeah,
oh, very good. Very good. So Juliano, you've told us a bit about what you're working on. You've told us a bit about how you actually go about the process of writing. When did you know that this is the life that you wanted to build for yourself, that you wanted to be a scholar, a professor of constitutional law?
You know, Richard, this is a very tough question. I'm not sure if I was planning to become professor while I was at the law school. But after starting like this post-grad, master, PhD, and whatever, it's just like, I just started enjoying this perspective of becoming professor. And I always like to write something, and of course also like giving, some lectures or whatever you call it. And this is, I don't know, was natural somehow. I just like it, the idea. And the moment also when I finished my PhD in Germany, and when I came back to Brazil, was a very good moment. The universities were hiring professors or people who were maybe want to start academic life as professors. So I was kind of lucky this is not happening anymore in Brazil. So the moment was good. And the opportunity was there. I was just, the timing was perfect. And actually I enjoyed doing this. And yeah, I don't regret it at all. I think it's the best profession in the world.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy doing it because you're so good at it. So Juliano, think back to when you were a student, when you were an undergraduate law student or a master's student, or when you went to Germany to do your doctoral degree. Was there a paper that you read or encountered at the time, or a book, some work of scholarship that you encountered and you thought, oh, wow, this is wonderful, this is great, and that continues today to shape how you think about the law, that continues to motivate you, to inspire you, that continues to have a very big role in what you do in your daily work as a professor, as a scholar?
Richard, this is interesting because, if I look at my past, and especially my first writings, or maybe the things I wrote in the past, you're going to see that most of my papers were very related to philosophy of law, so legal philosophy. This was my actually what the most important things for me. So just Habermas, Derrida, and all these people, and especially my master was on like philosophy of law very strongly, and the book I published right after was also focused on legal philosophy. And when I went to my PhD, I kind of got in contact with a book which really changed my mind about everything. And actually, to today, it has a very strong influence on my writings, even though I don't write philosophy that much as I did in the past, which is this one here. I have here is Force de Loi, Jacques Derrida. It's not related to comparative constitutional law at all. It's just like a legal philosophy, and actually by a philosopher, not a legal scholar. But this book is really something that it blows my mind. It's just amazing how it influenced my understanding of the law, and actually made me more, more related to the idea that it was necessary to go and explore law in a more institutionalized way, which I was not doing that much in the past. So this is interesting because even though it is a philosophy it's a philosophic book. It just opened my mind to maybe go to comparative constitutional law. And if after that, I start working with like this philosophical background and something that is much more related to what I'm doing right now, which is political science. So it's just like, and combining theories, which are somehow, they might sound controversial. Like, for example, the Hegelian deconstruction on the one hand, and on the other, I have like rational choice, which is very much related to political science stuff. So this is something that is quite intriguing, but in the end, I think it works well. So I have this, this is certainly the book which really played a role in my life, and especially in my doctorate, which was the work, the scholarship. I really dedicate a lot of my time exploring this, this philosophical background, and also applying to comparative constitutional law. And after that, I just went through this. Now I'm working with other perspectives. Of course, it's not the same as in the past. I'm much more related to, very current topics. But this is certainly the book which influenced me a lot, and still does. So yeah.
So you've told us about a book that has influenced you, that has really helped you shape the scholar you are today. Let's turn back to your work for the final question in this interview series. Thanks again, Juliano, for agreeing to do this. Is there a book that you've written, a chapter you've written, a paper you've written that you feel most strongly about, that is dearest to you? The reason I asked Juliano is because I'd like to share with our readers a link to this book or this chapter or this paper, so that they can get to know a bit about you as a scholar if they don't already know about you as a scholar. So is there such a work of scholarship that you hold above the others as your favorite, your most important, your dearest? I'd love to share that with our readers and viewers.
Richard, this is a very tough question, very, very tough question, because of course we have like our life, academic life, changed a lot. And if I had to answer you based on what is more current, what I'm working right now, of course, maybe I have the Icon paper or some other papers like the one, The Seeds of Change, which I published at Marquette Law Review. These are my natural calls and then natural choice from my, my scholarship. But the scholarship, the work, I've worked a lot, and actually is the most important for me. Because the time I dedicated to this work, or maybe the moment I was working with this topic, is of course my book, which is this On the Limits of Constitutional Education. I have a copy here. This is the book I published. It's quite old already. It's 10 years old, about 10 years old.
But, I have a copy of it on my shelf over there too.
Yeah, Richard, it's not actually what I'm writing right now, but why is this so important for me? Because of course, first, it's my PhD thesis, so it's where I try to bring something new, so something that might have some impact, and it's very dense. I cannot imagine myself doing what I was doing at that, at that time, working like hours, library crazily. And this was a very, and also the moment there, the wonderful life I had in Berlin, and all these memories that come back to me when I think of this book, and especially the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th chapters of this book for me are possibly the densest, the deepest scholarship I've ever written. It's not the most current, it's not comparative constitutional law in the way I usually work now with, but it's certainly the scholarship I dedicate most of my time to. So it's there's something sentimental related to this book. It's also one thing that's also important, because after finishing it, it's just like it actually paved the way for my professorship here in Brazil. So it's important to mention this. So it's also very strongly related to my career and the path I've worked to building. So this is why, yeah, it's not a, that's it. It's just the book I wrote. It's the deepest, philosophically speaking. It's also the memories and all the outcomes it brought to me, especially this stronger relation to the academic world. So I owe a lot to this book.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Juliano. I will be very happy to put a link to that book when we publish this interview so that our readers and viewers can get to know a bit more about you and your work. And I guess this was your doctoral dissertation, so very, very excited to have people look at it. I, of course, have a copy. I told you I have it on my shelf over there, and I'm very glad to be able to share it with other people. Juliano Zaiden Benvindo, Professor of Constitutional Law at the University of Brasilia, dear friend of ICONS. Thank you for agreeing.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks so much. It's so good to see you. I wish you and your family good health and safety in the days and weeks and months ahead. And I look forward to seeing you in person when it's safe to do that.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure. And I really hope to see you soon, Richard. And we're gonna see each other soon. Yeah, soon. Let's see.
Thank you. Thank you, Juliano. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.